Hi, my name is Gabe Borghese, and this is me and Adrian Morocho's company. This is our Ford Motor Company presentation. So for the overall history of Ford, sorry, okay, there we go. So the overall history of Ford, the Ford Motor Company was founded by Henry Ford and a group of investors in 1903, quickly becoming a major force in the automotive industry. The introduction of the Model T in 1908 was a game changer, making cars accessible to a much broader segment of the population. Ford's implementation of the moving assembly line in 1913 was revolutionary, slashing product costs and setting new standards for industrial efficiency. In 1914, Ford's decision to offer workers a $5 daily wage for an 8-hour shift not only improved employee welfare but also helped shape a modern American middle class. The company expanded its global presence early on, establishing plants in several countries by the mid-1910s, acquiring the Lincoln Motor Company in 1922, which allowed Ford to enter the luxury car market during World War II. During World War II, Ford played a crucial role in military production, further demonstrating its industrial capacity. Post-war, the company launched iconic vehicles like the F-Series trucks in 1948, the Thunderbird in 1954, and then Mustang in 1964, each leaving a lasting mark on American car culture. In the decades that followed, Ford continued to innovate with models like the Taurus and Explorer, and more recently, the company has shifted its focus toward advanced technology and electric vehicles, maintaining its relevance in a rapidly changing industry. As for information for Ford within the USA, sorry. Uh, there we go. In the United States, the Ford Motor Company remains one of the leading automakers, holding about a 13% market share in 2024 and ranking as the third largest brand after GM and Toyota. The company's F-Series trucks have been the best-selling trucks in America for 48 consecutive years. And other models like the Explorer, Escape, and Bronco are also top sellers. Ford's US sales have shown strong growth recently, with a 16% increase in April and a 14.2% rise in the second quarter of 2025, outpacing the overall industry. Many of Ford's U.S. sales come from their trucks and SUVs, with continued strength in internal combustion and hybrid models. Even as the company invests in electric vehicles, while EV sales have been somewhat volatile, Ford Mustang's Mach-E notably outsold the traditional gas-powered Mustang in 2024. Ford's U.S. strategy emphasizes on production and a from America, for America approach to maintain its strong brand presence. Information on Ford within China. I was very surprised to find a lot of information on Ford within China, to be completely honest, because whenever you think about Ford, you always think about America, their trucks, the Broncos, Ford Explorer, Taurus, all that kind of stuff. You never really think of Ford within China, but there's always companies that are in different countries that also have different types of vehicles, not always just the traditional F-Series, Mustangs, Taurus, all that stuff, Fusion, just a little side piece. Information on China within Ford. In China, Ford's market share has declined significantly over the past decade, now averaging around 1.6% in 2024, down from a peak of 4.7% in 2015. The company operates in China primarily through joint ventures like Chang'an Ford and offers a lineup tailored to its local preferences, including models not available in the US. Ford faces fierce competition from local brands such as BYD and international players like Tesla, especially in the rapidly growing electric vehicle segment. Despite the drop in market share, Ford's China operations remain profitable, earning between $600 and $900 million in 2024, thanks to a streamlined lineup, increased local production, and a focus on exports, particularly with the Lincoln Nautilus. To adapt, Ford is expanding its manufacturing capacity for electric vehicles, localizing products, leveraging Chinese suppliers to reduce costs, and focusing on growth areas like luxury vehicles and EVs. Lincoln, Ford's luxury brand, has found success by targeting China's affluent consumers and producing vehicles locally to avoid tariffs. For the macro environment I found within the US, the Ford Motor Company's operations in the United States are shaped by a range of macro environmental factors. Politically, Ford benefits from government support for innovation and trade agreements, but it also faces challenges from changing trade policies and regulations like the USMCA, which can raise production costs and force the company to adapt its supply chains quickly. Economically, the US auto market is both mature and extremely competitive with steady demands for trucks and SUVs, but it's also sensitive to things like inflation, interest rates, and shifts in consumer confidence that affect how people buy cars. Social factors play a big role too. American consumers generally prefer bigger vehicles and value Ford's long-standing reputation, although there's growing interest in electric and hybrid vehicles. On the technology front, Ford is making major investments in electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and connectivity, aiming for 40% of its global sales to be all electric by 2023. Legally, the company has to keep up with a complex set of federal and state regulations, especially around emissions, and has even faced legal battles in states such as California to push for stronger pollution limits. Environmentally, Ford has set a goal to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, putting billions into electrification, sustainable manufacturing, and in efforts to lower CO2 emissions for each vehicle it makes. As for the microenvironment, the US automotive industry operates as an oligopoly, with a small number of major companies, namely GM, Ford, Stellantis, and Toyota, controlling most of the market. This structure leads to intense competition, especially in the highly lucrative truck and SUV segments, where brand loyalty and product differentiation are crucial. American car culture plays a significant role in shaping market dynamics, as consumers tend to favor larger vehicles with powerful engines and have a strong preference for brands with deep-rooted histories, particularly those perceived as American-made. New automotive technologies, such as advanced infotainment system or electric drivetrains, are typically rolled out out first in higher end or premium models before becoming more widely available. Ford not only faces stiff competition from its traditional rivals, but is also challenged by emerging electrical vehicle startups like Rivian and Lucid, as well as established foreign brands. Additionally, the potential entry of Chinese automakers in the US market is seen as a looming threat, prompting Ford's leadership to closely monitor and learn from these competitors to stay ahead in an industry that is rapidly evolving. As for the macro environment within China, operating in China presents Ford with a unique set of macro environmental challenges and opportunities. Politically, Ford is required to work through joint ventures with local companies, and the business climate is shaped by ongoing trade tensions, heavy regulatory scrutiny, and strong government support for domestic electrical manufacturers. The companies even faced anti-monopoly fines for price fixing, which shows just how tightly regulated the market is. Economically, while China remains the world's largest auto market, growth has slowly in recent years and competition has been ramped up, especially in the industry shifts rapidly toward electric vehicles. This has caused Ford's market share to drop, forcing the company to rethink its strategy and focusing more on localizing products. Socially, Chinese consumers tend to be younger and more tech savvy than in many other markets, demanding advanced connectivity features and frequent tech updates in their cars. There's also a noticeable shift towards smaller, high-tech vehicles and a rising interest in both luxury and electric models. This is just an extended slide of the macro environment. On the technology front, China is leading the way in electric vehicle adoption, and digital integration, pushing forward to speed up its local EV production and develop models that fit Chinese tastes, offered by learning from the rapid innovation cycles of local competitors. Legally, has to deal with a complicated regulatory environment, including strict anti-monopoly laws and requirements for local partnerships, and must stay on top of evolving rules around customer protection or consumer protection and environmental standards. Environmentally, the Chinese government is aggressively pushing for greener transportation, offering incentives for electric vehicles and enforcing tough emission standards, which has led Ford to ramp up its investment in local EV manufacturing to stay competitive and compliant. As for the microenvironment within China's automotive market is extremely fragmented, with a huge number of brands competing for attention. But it's increasingly dominated by powerful local players like BYD and Geely, along with a handful of major global companies. The competition is especially intense in the electric vehicle segment, where Chinese companies have a real edge thanks to lower costs and faster technology and innovation. Culturally, Chinese consumers are very focused on having the latest technology, seamless connectivity, and trendy designs in their cars. They often don't see cars as both status symbols and high-tech gadgets. There is also a strong sense of loyalty to domestic brands, which means foreign automakers like Ford really have to localize both their products and their marketing strategies if they really would like to see in these other countries. To keep up, Ford has been working to reposition itself by ramping up local production, putting more emphasis on EVs and luxury models like Lincoln, and trying to learn from the agility of Chinese competitors. Still, the company continues to face big challenges from tough regulations, rapidly shifting consumer tastes, and relentless rise of local automakers who are quickly to adapt and innovate. Structure of the company in the Chinese market. Ford's China operations are managed as part of the company's Asia Pacific regional division, with executive leadership responsible for aligning local strategies with Ford's global objectives. The company's executive leadership. Wait, sorry, I apologize. The company's China business is increasingly focused on leveraging local innovation, using the market as an export hub, and adapting products to meet the preferences of Chinese consumers. This structure allows Ford to remain agile in a highly competitive and rapidly evolving environment, while also benefiting from the expertise and cost advantages of its joint venture partners. The result is a capital light business model in China, where Ford can quickly respond to market changes, regulatory requirements, and consumer trends while maintaining profitability and supporting global operations. As for their strategic management, the Ford Motor Company's overall strategic management approach combines global innovation with local adaptation to stay competitive in the fast-changing auto industry. At the corporate level, Ford is focused on transforming its business through heavy investment in electric vehicles, expanding connected services, and working towards sustainability goals like carbon neutrality. Competitively, Ford tries to balance cost leadership with differentiation by offering a wide range of vehicles, investing in new technologies, and building on its strong brand reputation. Internationally, Ford uses a transnational strategy, standardizing platforms and products where possible to achieve efficiency, but also tweaking its vehicles and marketing to fit local markets. Like China, where joint ventures and localized products are essential, overall this approach helps Ford leverage its global strengths while staying flexible enough to meet specific needs of different markets around the world. As for their operation strategy, the Ford Motor Company's operation strategy is built around global consistency, high productivity, and flexibility to adapt different market conditions. The company emphasizes standardized processes and quality management across its worldwide network, ensuring that its vehicle and services meet consistent standards regardless of where they are produced or sold. Ford invests heavily in advanced manufacturing, as seen in initiatives such as Blue Oval City and Blue Oval Battery Park, Michigan, which focuses on electric vehicle and battery production to support the company's electrification goals. The operation strategy also leverages Ford's legacy of process innovation, like the assembly line, while continuously upgrading capacity and efficiency to remain competitive. Operations planning and scheduling. The Ford Motor Company's operations planning and scheduling involves coordinating production, finance, marketing, and risk management to keep up with the business running smoothly worldwide. Production planning is guided by long-term strategies and demanded forecasts from markets, which help decide how many vehicles to build and where. Ford uses advanced systems to schedule parts deliveries and assembly efficiency, cutting down on inventory and delays. The finance team ensures a strong financial controls and accurate reporting to support the company's goals. Marketing plays a key role by using digital tools to predict customer demand and shape production plans. Meanwhile, risk management is integrated through the process to monitor challenges such as supply issues, regulatory risks, helping Ford to stay prepared and profitable. Overall, Ford's planning system both combines technology, teamwork, and careful oversight to manage its complex global operations effectively. Decision making and control policy. The Ford Motor Company's decision making and control policies are built around strong corporate governance and clear accountability. The board of directors, which is elected by shareholders, oversees the big picture strategies and monitors the performance of top executives, while specialized committees focus on areas like finance, sustainability, and ethics. Day-to-day decisions are handled by management, but everyone at Ford is expected to follow a strict code of conduct and ethics, with systems in place for employees to report any concerns anonymously. These policies are regularly updated to keep up with new laws and business changes, making sure that Ford stays ethical, transparent, and well managed at every level of the company. The Ford Motor Company's process strategy is all about combining efficiency with flexibility and innovation. While Ford is famous for inventing the assembly line, today the company uses advanced manufacturing techniques and standardized equipment so it can quickly switch between different vehicle models and keep up with the changing market demands. Ford also makes sure its cars meet the same high quality standards no matter where they're built, thanks to global consistency in design and production. The company is putting a lot of effort into electrification and sustainable manufacturing, investing in new tech and trying to stay ahead in the shift towards electric vehicles. Overall, Ford's approach is to keep improving its processes so it can produce high quality cars efficiently while staying adaptable and ready for whatever comes into the next auto industry. As for quality and performance, the Ford Motor Company's quality and performance have both seen improvements and some setbacks lately. In the 2025 JD Power initial quality study, Ford had more segment wins than any other brand, with popular models like the F-150 and Mustang leading their categories. Still, Ford as a brand ranked just below the industry average for reported problems, partly because of their early issues with the new Explorer. Although those have supposedly been fixed, Ford uses a high-tech quality control systems and real-time monitoring to catch problems during production, and its reliability ratings have gotten better compared to past years, even if they lag behind some Japanese brands. Financially, Ford's performance has been solid, with profits trending up, but the company knows it needs to keep focusing on quality, especially as it rolls out new vehicles and tech to stay competitive. As for the lean systems, Ford Motor Company has a long history of lean systems, starting way back with Henry Ford's original assembly line. Today, Ford still relies on lean manufacturing principles to keep its to keep its operations efficient and competitive. They use just-in-time inventory to cut down on waste and make sure parts show up exactly when needed. The company organizes its factories using the 5S system to keep everything neat and safe and encourages workers to suggest improvements through a continuous improvement or a Kaizen mindset, which we did learn during the summer semester. Visual management tools also help everyone spot issues quickly, and Ford has trained a lot of employees in the Six Sigma to boost quality and reduce defects. Overall, Ford's lean system are all about making production as efficiently and high quality as possible.
In 2025, Ford's annual capacity planning followed the trajectory of many other American companies, partially due to the EV credit being very, very heavily pushed on companies such as Ford. Also, on top of that, it's being decreased now from 7,500 to only 4,000 starting on September 30th. So a lot of these companies want to get the benefits ahead of time while they're still there. This, along with state and other government benefactors that have led to the Ford company producing heavily on EV. However, they still are producing and performing heavily in their other non-EV vehicles being produced. For example, the Ford F-150 has at least 400,000 units produced per year. Same thing with the Mustang, over 100,000 units per year. Bronco Sport, 100,000 per year. The Maverick, 300,000 per year. And the Ford gas supplies are over 100,000 per year. On top of successive levels of Ford staying in the EV space while maintaining their internal combustion engines and their gas cars. As previously stated, Ford is very, very heavily focusing on EV, especially throughout the last year. The last year alone has made the Ranger plug hybrid electric vehicles, the PHEV, over 200,000 more vehicles of those are being produced by Ford alone. The Super Duty pickup is 100,000 more vehicles produced each year, and EV batteries have been up 86 gigawatts per year. As for Ford's constraint management, it has developed a sophisticated approach to it by managing flexibility, consistency in a global market, and the company's constraint on a managerial level, identifying priorities, addressing limitations in production capacity, supply chains, and also market conditions. This is addressed through flexible manufacturing, automation solutions, and capacity expansion. Ford has a long standing with using models that they've been using since their integration into the space. But now they're improving those models through AI. But these models do not intend on replacing all the intelligence and all the knowledge of all these years of Ford manufacturers, but intends to automate their processes and increase production through that. On top of this, Ford uses mainly the theory of constraints and the Lean Six Sigma method in order to make an incredible amount of forecasting and make these split-end decisions on the job. Ford has a majority of its processes handled on a global scale, which leads to operations needing to forecast greatly for that global scale which Ford operates on. This has led to them focusing heavily on market analysis, production planning, and strategic planning based around their global market and the needs for that global market, whether that be changes in tariffs, changes in government, changes in laws, whatever they might face, shortages per se. These operations have to forecast these things, or else it'll come and affect Ford's production lines. As for Ford's inventory management, they focus a lot of their resources on having the goods right there for the consumer, having a top-down system. This allows them to have more efficiency, secure supplies throughout the United States, and focus on a global scale while not discriminating against the American production lines. Specifically in its EV supply chain, they've partnered with plants such as Blue Oval SK, lithium mines in Canada, while keeping software and manufacturing chips in-house. But this diversification of where all the things are being produced allows for a very, very finished product, quick and easy, that could be turned over to the customer. Further in their inventory management, Ford breaks up their inventory from four distinct things: parts inventory, the work in progress, and finished vehicles, as well as vertical integration that they use in order to secure and sell these cars to their customers. This strategy not only allows Ford to maintain and track all of their resources and also see what they can sell to the people, but it also shows what parts they might need to finish a car, or what cars might need just a mini fix in order to be ready for the road and for the consumer. Ford has a three-part resource planning structure. First off is long-term planning, which is about 5 to 10 years of resource allocation, which facilitates the investments and capacities that Ford could work under throughout that period of time. It has to be very predictive, and it relies a lot on the forecasts of Ford Company. Its annual planning does rely also on their market forecast. However, its yearly productions more focus on the smaller changes, especially the global changes that happen year-round, and filling out those gaps that may happen throughout the year. Finally, there's release planning, which is quarterly and monthly, scheduling specific production runs and resource developments, labor scheduling, and production line configuration. Ford has an incredibly extensive supply chains with leveraging specialists from suppliers, but also having a lot of in-house specialists who will get the job done. By doing this, they don't become reliant on just one supplier, but they have a very, very diverse network of suppliers throughout the supply chain. As previously mentioned, some of their issues may lead and stem from global markets and their volatility, but by diversing across the US, across Europe, across Asia, across Africa, South America even. By diversifying it all across the world, this allows there to not be just one place that Ford is just relying on. Furthermore, Ford has 10 different tiers of suppliers throughout the supply chain, with only its first tier one having already 1,400 suppliers around the world, which contributes to over 1,000 unique and distinct materials necessary for its production of both electric and non-electric vehicles. Um, the supply chains, like previously mentioned, runs around throughout the whole entire world. However, its EV initiatives seem to mostly be based in the US, possibly due to President Trump's tariffs against foreign imports. However, this has not stopped Ford from sourcing out a lot of its work on the global market. Although previously mentioned as an upside to Ford having a global supply chain, it also has a major downside of Ford's company. They not only face inventory challenges, with even the CEO, Jim Farley, mentioning that they want to take away a shift from mainly focusing on forecasting, instead to help the suppliers overcome the production hurdles. This not only could hurt Ford Company, but could leave it vulnerable to possibilities that they might not see if they focus on forecasting. Another example would be in 2022 quarter three for Ford, they had a $1 billion surge in supplier costs due to inflation and raw materials prices increasing. This not only completely screwed over the stock, but it was a very unexpected cost that Ford just had to tank out of no good reason. Another thing they're really experiencing hard is semiconductor shortages, especially after COVID-19. They have tried to make a lot of the semiconductors in-house nowadays. However, that initial hit in 2021 really hurt Ford Company and can continue to hurt Ford Company if they're not really secure in the supply chains and all these other factors that come into supply chains, which can be possibly lopsided by good forecasting. However, they also had to account and try to help out their supply chain users in the first place. Ford's Six Sigma project management structure has been around almost since the company's launch. Um, for example, Ford Company has saved over $1 billion in the early 2000s just by integrating financial impacts through the Six Sigma method, and now saves 359 million annually from the Six Sigma method. This combines not only a lean system, top-down system for Ford Company, but also allows them to detect any defects within their cars ahead of time, have a very sound supply chain structure, and also uplift their staff in order to have a more meaningful impact on the work they do in Ford Company. The basis of the Six Sigma methodology that they use is the DMAIC project management. This stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This, like I said before, allows Ford Company to make improvements on their cars, predict any defects before they even happen, and manage the supply chain while giving their workers input on the work that they do and impacting the cars they produce. Furthermore, Ford's Six Sigma method has allowed for waste reduction and operational efficiency, which meets with Ford's standards of wanting continuous improvement and automation through its processes. This is not only supported by the DMAIC principles, but Bell-based training ecosystem and the embedded product development that Ford has integrated throughout its many years of service. As for Ford's human resource planning, they face a lot of challenges in supply chain workforce. Despite them having so many supply chains around the world and so many thousands of supply chains active and that they derive from, they still face challenges in trying to uplift those supply chains and making sure they produce at the level they need to be produced to meet Ford's demands that they have already. As well as their participative management, this approach can also be very good or very harmful for Ford. Let's say a manager doesn't agree on the route to take to produce a new car, for a car launch, or where to source his resources from. This can cause a little bit of a riffle, however, also can lead to automation and further improvement on Ford systems. It really just depends on how it's used and maintained. Also, the HR development focus that Ford has going for it emphasizes continuous training, systematic knowledge, and improvements upon what they already have known. Whereas logistics management aims to have a really high bar that they set for themselves. Most recently, they're trying to cut down their 60-day delivery order to delivery time from just 60 days to now just 15 days. This will not only be a very big change industry wide, but it'll put them at the top of the list for orders. Starting all the way back in 2000, Ford's plan and Ford production systems have driven end-to-end process improvements, streamlining entire logistics operations from raw material sourcing to when the vehicles are delivered, now which is being improved even more, and bringing us modern day through automation, now through AI especially. Specifically, Ford is trying to focus also on the EV market, and the logistics priorities is very, very important to those things. They want to make sure there's a reliability in meeting delivery commitments. If they say they're going to deliver something in 15 days, they need to meet those commitments and not fall back. They want to thrive and they want to become the best in the space. Cost effectiveness as well is a really, really big thing, which is why Ford somewhat outsources all their materials, so it's cheaper to make outside of the country and then ship them in, which might change soon. However, as of right now, this is the best way for Ford to deliver a really good, cost efficient to its customers. There's also flexibility to respond to market fluctuations. They already have this partially due to their large network throughout the world. However, they still need to make sure this is a top priority for them and that they could factor in any market changes that may come in order to make sure there isn't a big change in the production they can output, as well as what could be affordable for the customers. Well, Ford's top overall strengths include their ability to quickly align and readjust from market disruptions on a global scale. This not only means changing, but also substituting some of the supply chain processes in order to meet market changes that might happen spontaneously that we can't really forecast completely. On top of this, its Six Sigma implementation and processes allow for not only innovation, but has allowed Ford to maintain its stay as one of the top companies in America and one of the top producers of cars in America. Furthermore, Ford's top-down comprehensive supply chain aims to support not only EV-focused production, but also their gas production cars, which they've been doing for many, many years. This, along with cross-functional design, has made the process of switching to EV-focused car production very, very capable in America, and possibly being able to produce cars fully just in America on the EV scale, which has also added to Ford using AI models now. This does not, again, take away from the humans in the processes. They really do use their expertise and they maintain a large class of these people. They don't just fire them because AI could do their job, quote unquote, but they intend to instead improve and streamline processes throughout Ford Company. As for Ford, some overall weaknesses, unfortunately, one of their main weaknesses is their global supply chain and the disruptions it's been facing as of late. At least 4 years in a row now, semiconductors have had issues being produced globally and being shipped over to Ford in a timely manner, which has caused supply chain disruptions and caused supply chains to low and slower down, which didn't have to happen. And it's possibly the reason why some of their productions and some of their launches for cars have been a little bit delayed, is because of the semiconductors. This and not only other products that Ford needs to produce their cars being delayed overseas has caused a lot of problems that Ford can't fully complete and fix unless they start making more things in-house. Ford also faces a challenge with an ever-growing inventory. This is the large thing they have to consider when also managing EV cars and how they're going to properly maintain bigger inventory. However, I think Ford has a system in place and has the experience to take on this new challenge. As of recent years, furthermore, they've stopped new vehicle programs, so they can't even start creating a vehicle and get it to the people because of these partial delays on the global scale, causing them to miss parts that they might need. After reviewing Ford Company with my partner, these are some of the future recommendations we came up with. Importantly, I think Ford needs deeper supplier collaboration. It's obvious that Ford can't make all their goods in-house, no car company does. So I think Ford needs to have a larger scale operation, but build a partnership more so and first and foremost with these companies that they align with, especially for EV components like batteries and power electronics. If they co-develop or if they have more involvement within those processes, they won't face the supply chain issues as large as they're facing right now. On top of this, logistics optimization, as previously mentioned, Ford's CEO wants to move away and help and focus more on the supply chain. That's obviously a very good response to some of the issues they've had with the supply chain. However, fully neglecting logistics is not the best option, not the best solution because it'll lacking then in that area. So a possible route is making them more AI powered, giving them more models and data to work off of, and making an AI model that is very powerful within Ford Company specifically, that is able to predict and able to make accurate logistics on the larger scale for especially all of these other companies that Ford is managing with and partnering with to create their cars. Finally, scenario planning. This is a very big thing that AI models can also assist with. However, better managerial skills and better operations management in general of Ford Company and their resources at large will allow for not that many more issues to happen within the company and the production of their cars. In conclusion, we find that Ford's future success depends on its continuous evolution in supply chain design and project managerial skills. By not only adapting new technology and accounting for market shifting demands, I believe Ford Company can keep its first seat as an industry leader, not only making a great experience for its customers and consumers, but also for its supply chain partnerships. If it keeps as it's going right now, they could have a successful tenure and they will keep on pursuing EV. Um, I believe that the places they have and their production and commitments to EV already shows that Ford Company is ready and prepared to invest a lot into it. Not only that, but they're ready to take on the new challenges that they may bring to them and logistical complications and global complications that may imply as well. We thank you for your time and attentiveness. This is page 1 of our references. This is our second page of references. And this is our last page of references. Finally, I would like to say again, thank you for your time and your attentiveness. Thank you.